Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Friday, August 23rd, 2024. You know what? Forgive me, because I think it's been Virgo season for a couple days now, or I'm pretty sure it didn't just start on the 23rd, but happy birthday, Virgo. I'm sorry. I hope that you are enjoying, or I hope, well, yeah, it could be your birthday today. If so, certainly happy birthday to you. But I hope that you do enjoy your birthday season and all the spoils that come along with it. We appreciate your energy of mastery, hard work, dedication, getting to the details of life, and leaving no truth uncovered if you can help it. We definitely do appreciate no receipt unchecked, so we definitely are harnessing that energy now in this season like never before, as a matter of fact, because there's so much that we are transitioning into, learning about ourselves, evolving into, growing on account of, and to harness that spirit of Virgo that doesn't mind investing the energy into practice and into at least the ideal of perfection, or the intention of perfection, is not a bad thing, especially for energies like myself who don't have a great deal of Virgo placements. And, sometimes can actually enjoy skipping the details, especially me being a Sagittarius, being much more lofty and big picture minded. I have to I've had to condition myself to be more detail oriented and focused. So now to have this energy accessible to channel and tap into at such a pivotal time, coming on the tail end of Mercury retrograde, where we've, more or less kind of been ushered into that synergy as well about, just course correcting and reconsidering and reconfiguring and taking inventory and all that good stuff. It's not a bad idea to have Virgo in your corner to support you and helping to just do things as efficiently and as intentionally in the essence of excellence as you possibly can, because there's so much on the line. Oh, excuse me. Because there's so much on the line, and there's so much to gain, so what we don't want is to be regenerating old cycles that we've already learned from, we already have the receipts for, we already have the evidence for. We want to be able to take inventory of all of our experiences and roll it all up into something that propels us into prosperity and productivity in ways that we've never perhaps even encountered ourselves, or witnessed ourselves to be. I think some of us may be in for a pleasant surprise as to how we show up in life in the coming season ahead, and probably throughout the rest of the year. So again, happy birthday, Virgo. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you, even when we don't. Let's see what we got. Seven of Pentacles. Is that a Virgo energy? I almost feel like it might be. Well, definitely, I don't have my other phone and I don't have time to consider it too hard right now. But I think it might be, though. That's the funny thing. But what I was saying about taking inventory, considering the evidence, the receipts, the experience. This could even be thoughtful in the vein of like your invested energy up until this point, and also what you project forward. So like reconfiguring your efforts or your strategy again by way of what you observe to work smarter and not harder. You know, although Virgo is not a stranger to hard work, there still is a great deal of intellectualizing those efforts that really kind of like, you know, makes them the master. You know, like it's not just about putting your hand to the plow, putting your head down and just, you know, powering forward. It's all of the aspects of you, the physical, the mental, the spiritual. Certainly very grounded, you know, as Pentacles are, very earth, three-dimensional based, but whatever your, you know, your expertise of creativity may be, it doesn't have to be limited to anything tangible. It can be grounded in the 3D and with the energy of Virgo to just to consider what's working for you and what isn't. You know, honestly speaking, honestly meaning unto yourself, like what is yielding me the most favorable harvest, what has, and what from that evidence can I project probably will, you know. At least, yeah, here we go with the acceleration. At least enough to know what is a smart investment for the long haul. You know, it's not like it could ever be guaranteed or foolproof, but to consider what's in front of you and then readjust or assert yourself based on, you know, what really is practical evidence is always the magic of three-dimensional force that the universe can then get behind in the spiritual essence and push along. You know, it's a very co-creative process here that we got going on. All right, let's see what we got. So we got the Eight of Wands. Let's see, what is this? Because the Eight of Wands came up yesterday too, and I want to say the Seven of Pentacles did, and so did the King of Cups actually. So we got some repeating energy off the top. The Eight of Wands could be communication that's coming in at a rapid speed, or communication that comes in and advances what may on sight or even in, you know, in a moment of contemplation seem like it's going to take you a while. You know, like the Seven of Pentacles is the long haul. It might be you taking that inventory and saying like, okay, this is where I'm at, and projecting maybe for the next 7 years that it may take you that long to harvest all that you desire to, you know, whatever these pentacles could represent for you. And there perhaps being a dedication to that work in a very honorable way that, like I said, is what is the energy that then the universe can underwrite in almost a miraculous acceleration of progression to take something that you thought would have taken you years, or maybe has taken others years, or generally does take a great deal of time, even in terms of its its growth or expansion. You know, something you may already have started, but you kind of like locked in for the long haul, and then surprisingly enough, maybe you get a message or you get some support in a way that you weren't anticipating. You get a strong influx of interest in whatever it is you're growing, and it could take, in a practical sense, a small business to an enterprise. You know, a single product to expand to, you know, a multi-dimensional product line or brand. You know, like, could be something like that. I don't know. Just something to think about. And then we got the King of Cups here and the Ten of Wands, which would be the end of a struggle, or the end of some upheaval. What's behind that? What's it coming out of? Holding on to struggle? And then the Queen of Swords? Ugh. This energy is weird. It's strong. Hold on here, folks. All right, so we got the King of Cups, the Ten of Wands, the Four of Pentacles, I don't know where this... I am doing much better, by the way. Thanks for asking. If anybody was thoughtful, I just, you know, it's that last stretch of congestion that's just lingering. But I said, hey, if my eyes are clear from watering, which they weren't up until yesterday, then I could deal with the lingering congestion and a little phlegm, you know. Sorry for the terrible, mind, visual, you know, imprint, I guess I should say. But I'm doing much better, thankfully. But yeah, that's what the clearing the throat is, because there's still something there that's trying to work its way out. But I'm grateful for that above what I was experiencing at this point. Just excuse it, if you will. All right, so I mean, unfortunately, I may have to literally change direction of this message, because it's not feeling as fanciful as I started with this Eight of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles. That stands as a message all its own, if that resonates for anyone. But I'm sensing, I mean, some of these cards down here, like the Five of Cups, is very dense. And the Four of Pentacles is questionable. And then the Ten of Wands, it would be the end of a cycle, but I don't know. I feel like somebody thought that they had brought some closure to a situation that they had under control. And at one point it was looking up. It was looking favorable in a way that would be satisfying to the senses emotionally, because this transition here from the Five of Cups to the King of Cups tells me that somebody pulled themselves out of or at least they did a great deal of work to pull themselves out of depression or out of some extremely unfavorable emotional trench. But it was, how can I say this? The turnaround it's like somebody's emotions were too, how can I say it? Like too influenced by a material outcome. Like there was too much connection or dependency on something turning around in good favor in a material sense, which would then predict whether that could elevate someone's frequency or energy in an emotional sense, maybe even in a spiritual sense. And we know that that's a faulty dependency there, because if the hard work and dedication could only lend, you know, I will say if the outcome is only dependent on something that is ultimately as fleeting and fluctuating, I should say, as tangible things, that doesn't really make for a very stable foundation for the spiritual nature or emotional nature of a man, meaning woman, man, of a human, of which is already quite impressionable and delicate and vulnerable all on its own, you know? So it's like to have stocked up your wellness, so to speak, on things that are not very secure as is, or dependable, or guaranteed, is what I'm sensing may be this, you know, where someone, it appears like someone, you know, did a great deal of work to bring an end to their depression by controlling certain tangible variables. It may not have lasted very long because of what the remedy for the wellness ultimately was dependent on, or what it consisted of. So somebody could only be as well as how much money they have in their bank account, or how secure they feel financially, or within a job, or with whatever it is that they've been investing in. But what happens at the Seven of Pentacles, where, like I said, you already put in a great deal of work, and you only harvest one of the seven from off of this bush or whatever it is, this vine, does that then send you back into a depression because you expected to have all seven? That's the question, you know? And given here with the Hierophant, which is also an an emblem of establishments, corporations, business, could even be leadership, or, you know, of some structural order, or of some tradition of sorts. To even be dependent upon that, like it could even be a religious leader, you know, the Pope himself, or a preacher, a pastor, or some type of spiritual practitioner, but more of an organized religious force. So it could be something like that, where someone has stocked up a great deal on the things of the pillars of society, okay, that have, you know, become a way of life, that have contributed to the foundation and framework of someone's existence. But what happens when the bottom falls out, or those pillars collapse, and what you've been conditioned to believe is the doctrine of your very own life is now in serious question, maybe even under attack. So now I'm getting that, wow, that's different, in a different way. Like it's somebody that may be literally facing the truth of what they have like they're facing the stability and security of their carnal conditioning. And it's like somebody's coming to maybe take an inventory over their life, of which they have spent a great deal of time, energy, attention, dedication, commitment, blood, sweat, and tears, in contribution, or even in creativity, co-creativity as well, in societal, in the construct of societal standards, only to find out that what they've pledged themselves to for a very long time, if not for what seems like forever, is actually not as valuable or as sustenant, let alone secure, as they were guided to believe, or as they allowed themselves to be guided to believe. That's causing a burden, perhaps a psychological burden, or just an emotional stress that it may be tough to manage and actually bring closure to a cycle such as this, because coming to the end of this coming to a realization at a closing point of a cycle or a season in this moment actually doesn't feel all that settled. It's something about it here that almost feels like, you know, you may have come to an end of a season, but almost no more the wiser for the work that you've put in. Like I said, somebody put a great deal of work in to come to a certain settlement about life, only to find out that they're being initiated into onto a path, or into what is it into? It's into something that is less under their control. It's like how, you know, maybe it's an awakening, you know, but it's like a spiritual awakening, but it's like a rude awakening, a hard awakening. It's not the type of awakening where it feels like, aha. It feels like, uh-oh. Like, you mean to tell me that all this time, this is the truth that I've been championing, that I've been, you know, maybe even teaching, or, you know, being some type of example or leader for, like, to get all the way to the end of something where at this point you should almost, like, for all the work and investment you made, like, you would expect a reward because you've done so much labor has gone into holding these pillars up, only to come down to find out that it's like there's a new task at hand, or a new calling, or a new journey, of which now where the path you're embarking on would be the way toward what you thought you were working for in the previous season, or in the previous cycle, or perhaps all throughout your life up until this point. It literally could be as practical as someone being awakened to the religious practices that they have submitted to and invested in for all of their life. Like, they grew up in a certain capacity of religion and have an occurrence or an encounter that is revelatory, something that you couldn't not see, like the evidence, right? That's something that you couldn't not give light to or consider, you know, if you tried. But the realization as it is a bit daunting, because while it may close one cycle, it's telling you that you gotta go start something else. And that something else, as I said, it's not something you control. It may be something that's not so familiar. It may be something that feels threatening to all that you've invested in all this time, and you don't really know, like, whether to duck, to shield yourself, or to just kind of go with the flow. Or, you know, it's almost depressive in a sense to consider that these cups that you've been drinking from, maybe even pouring into, are literally just wasted. From this perspective, though, because really with the Five of Cups, somebody's not seeing the possibilities or the potential for a brighter outlook in the future with the Two Cups here behind them, because they're still considering how they may have either misinvested, lost time, misaligned themselves, maybe in this case have been misinformed, misguided, maybe all outright lied to, or that they lied to themselves, deluded themselves. Like, something here about that is blaring out to me in ways that maybe the cards on sight from you, viewer, don't really say, but I'm sensing that energy that is certainly about invested time and focus and interest and attention. And that, as I was saying before, like, somebody's emotional or spiritual stability rests on what they have already invested, or what they you know, like the reward and return from what they're familiar with in this case. But what happens when what was familiar now feels foreign? And that's where your emotional, it's like somebody that is Christian and they're grounded in the function of their religious practices, which is for a great deal of people, you know, no matter what your religion, that, you know, you feel somehow affirmed in the fact that you go to church every Sunday, or maybe more than that, you know, that you read your Bible, that you are a product of a certain doctrine, which you revere to be as the truth, the ultimate truth, in most ways, in some ways, depending on your practice. The way that you are involved or that you are of service in your religious or spiritual function is also affirming. It adds value. It literally almost is like the foundation of which your confidence is built upon. Because, you know, for whatever reason, maybe out of the conditioning or the experience of this just being what's been done, whether it's been done, you know, passed down traditionally to you as a practice, because that's how you grew up, or something that you gained in, you know, by your own choice, whatever it is, you found a grounding in that space, in that function, in that practice, in that literally practice, talking about Virgo, which Virgo is also about rituals and routines. So this is coming together. I know it's a slow burn, but it's coming. Imagine that that's where you feel affirmed. You know, in my Christian walk as a lifestyle, going to church every Sunday, being a bona fide Christian and walking in that frequency in the way that I see fit, serving at my church, going to Bible study, prayer meeting, reading my Bible every day, all the things that come along with the practice of that religion. And then suddenly, which is not foreign, you have an awakening that draws you in a direction that may even be deeper, as we look into the King of Cups here, maybe even deeper into your spiritual awareness, but somehow still feels distant from where you feel most comfortable, where you feel most affirmed and secured. What happens then? What do you do? That's a pivotal moment. And you know what I feel like even more, and I'm kind of getting chills about it, I'm making an example of it being religion because I can definitely speak to that a great deal. And it's very familiar, and it's in alignment even with the Hierophant itself, right? But as I said, this is about the pillars of society. So if religion doesn't necessarily hit home for you, this just could be in the truths about life, you know, about the 5 pillars themselves and how they operate, how they function, how you function within them, you know, the power dynamic in the country, the structure of leadership, and everything about the life that you have submitted to as a contributor and a creator is packaged in one containment. What then happens when there is no containment? There are no pillars holding up these ideals in the way that you're used to. Again, when the bottom falls out and it's easily an aha to an uh-oh, it's an interchangeable feeling, because everything that you've been secure to build your existence upon, mentally, physically, spiritually, psychologically, familially, culturally, religiously, you know, every which way, is suddenly being challenged with a revelation of truth that could be completely contradictory, or a revelation within you even about what has been common up until this point, now contradictory to everything that has held weight up until now. Does that make sense? I don't know if it does. I guess the point is that there's a lot that's about to change. And, you know, even things with the typical, you know, election year are going on to seem like, you know, business as usual, like more or less going on without a hitch. But I don't know, there could be something that happens quite drastically that would even challenge that norm on an even larger scale. But certainly it all comes down to then, how do you respond as an individual? What does that incite you to do? Like, how do you engage that truth? How do you take control over yourself without necessarily trying to control elements that may not be within your control? Let me get a few more, because I don't know. And it's like everything that we've been investing in as, you know, like just kind of going about life business as usual, because this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is how it goes, this is how it's always been. And then what happens when suddenly it's not? It's something else different, or it's just not what it was, so therefore it must need to be or get to be something different. It's the end for the purposes of a new beginning. I think it comes down to however you see that harvest at the Seven of Pentacles, which I often say, is strange that I didn't. I guess it's good that I kind of started off in the highest frequency first, and then it came down, you know, back to more questionable levels, because that's the matter of difference here. And how you see these Eight of Wands as an acceleration of progression into change and advancement, or as a personal attack. Like how you literally take inventory over what has been, what you've invested in it to be so at this point, what you perceive to be in your possession. Oh, sorry guys. Oh my goodness, I might have to go spit. It's the moment I've been waiting for, just at the most inopportune time. I've been trying to cough this up. sorry. How you perceive your harvest, whatever it may be, all the 7, 1 of the 7, 6 of the 7, you know, whatever it is. Because as I often say about the 7 of Pentacles, it's like, it's a matter of perception with that card to me. That it could be someone that sees great potential and great favor in the present, but even great potential for the future, or that looks upon that in a very disappointed, dissatisfied way. Like, this is it, that's all I got. So I feel like there's something here about the disparity in perception of the changes, swift as they may be, or at least intense. Maybe not so much fast as it is intensity of change that get to occur or are occurring, and what you perceive of yourself and resource and like capability, or like, there's a word that I'm looking for, like when you're almost qualified in a particular role or position to not only experience, but then also to conduct in a way. So I guess how the energy is, how conducive you are to the changes, here it is, and also how you conduct yourself proactively or reactively on account of it. It being so nonetheless, maybe in a form that we can't even holistically see coming right now, because the 8 of Wands is kind of a sudden impact, but it's intense. And it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. That's the thing. It's like, that's why I think I'm getting the aha or uh-oh energy, because it's whatever it is that you say it is. You know, for me, I'll bring it back to the religious aspect. When my religious grooming and conditioning as a Christian started to become challenged by my spiritual awakening, not because I necessarily felt like I absolutely had to abandon everything that I had known to pursue, but there was a conflict there to some degree, because the areas and discoveries that I was being drawn to didn't really align with the conventions of the tradition of religion, and more so set, you know, by man, which may be the thing that ultimately is being broken off, because we don't even realize how conditioned we truly are. We don't even realize where that condition, the origin of that condition has come from. We just kind of fall in line most times, and it just becomes a way of life. So for me, you know, it was definitely a challenge, because all of my family is very much grounded in the Christian faith, you know, my immediate family. So for me to be venturing off into any segue whatsoever was not well received or encouraged, as you can imagine. Now, for me, I could have reviewed that harvest of an invitation to explore in a way that felt almost like, you know, like a detriment, because of the dissension it kind of caused on a spiritual level for me, one that would want to be in agreement or approval with my family naturally, but still having an answer to wherever it was that I was feeling guided. But I found balance ultimately in and the, what's the word? In the passion of that path. Like the things, you know, I kind of clung to the things that excited me about it, and that encouraged me and helped build out my new foundation, which was, you know, collective of all things that I've been exposed to, and that I'm continuously engaging, you know, through my life's experience, rather than it feeling like, first of all, like all this time I've been sitting up in church only to find out that there's more that I should know, or more I should aspire to, or that something's been withheld from me, or there's something, you know, maybe I've been misguided or lied to. Like, it didn't really register to me that way. I embraced all the aspects of my grooming and my conditioning, even the things that I wish to be reconditioned from or to reform, still had value at the time when they did, and as a point of reference for my evolution beyond it, if this is making sense. So that's just in a small way, in a religious sense, right? For me personally, which I'm sure many, if you're watching, if you come from any like organized religious background, you probably know how that feels to some extent. But what I'm trying to get to the point is, it's just like a matter of how you conduct this energy, which is an honor, which is a gift, which is working for your advancement, even when it sometimes seems a bit aggressive, which is the point of the Eight of Wands. Like, it can almost, to get the nudge that it's time to leave where you've been most comfortable, where you've been most validated, even felt most secure for all your life, to go explore some unknown territory, literally to bring an ending for the purposes of a new beginning, not knowing that that would incorporate some of the past season, but, you know, being excited to take to accept the invitation anyway, is, you know, it's not an easy energy to accept, let alone to then navigate in your physical being when you got hella other resistances against you, or other opinions or criticisms or judgments, or just contradictions even within your own self to some degree, because of what you've been conditioned for so long. Like, you literally are positioning yourself to be completely reformed, maybe even regenerated in a way that you don't have total control over. Not total control. And there's so many controllables about tangible things, material things, that make us feel comfortable, even in the energy of how we spend our time in religious practice, or any practice of life in general, like any routine of life in general, has its purpose for our own security and even emotional stability. To disturb that and introduce anything that is conflicting, challenging, contradictory even in any way, I think it will ultimately be like the test of strength. The feats of strength, is that a thing? The feats of strength? Feet of strength? But yeah, in a season where like it's like you don't have control to resist the evolution, but you do have control over how you respond, react within it, or to it, I should say. And that's not something that we've had to deal with in any intensified way, or in any intensified way such as now, or such as it is now with the turn of the age. There may have been like some revamps of the same old cycles, more or less, but it's been nothing so astonishing or jolting that it would almost cause for you to be completely like cause for a complete readjustment of reality. But for whatever reason, I'm feeling like that's something that's coming. Oh, shoot. Okay. I'm gonna take all these. This one fell on my arm. Interesting. Ooh. So we got the Knight of Swords that is insistent on what? I don't know. But it seems like, it feels like to reclaim the past. Then we got the Four of Wands and the Star card, which also came up yesterday. Interesting. These two came up together yesterday. I think so. We're very close to each other. So here we are with the Knight of Swords is moving backwards. Let's just call it what it is. There's something that this energy is insistent to reclaim about the past, or about what they're most comforted by, or even what they feel entitled to, I would say here, that is really, you know, only connected to despair if you really get into how the cards are falling. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, for those that are willing to submit to the present and the future and assume authority over their creativity within it in all the ways that they can and can help to do so, or have liberty to do so, I should say. Here's the Four of Wands, which is balance and harmony, stability. So there gets to be a reestablishment of the spoils of life, or at least the comforts of convention but just in a new way is what I'm sensing. And it looks like it'll be even better than what's lusted for of the past, or what's longed for, at least. If it's allowed to be, though. It's the Strength card and the Star. That's like really living in a dream, you know, and wish fulfillment, and life being satisfying in a spiritual sense and in a very sensational sense as well. So they're literally, I mean, how many of us can even really say that right now, that life is that? You might be satisfied in a sensational sense, but oftentimes, not absolutely, but oftentimes not without some sacrifice in the spiritual sense. And up until now, there's been a lot of spiritual satisfaction where it's been felt to have had to be void of sensational satisfaction. Like the two can't mutually coexist. But here with the Four of Wands, that's balance and harmony right there, like almost creating the foundation, for the new pillars. And it must be a frame of mind. Yeah, up under the Queen of Swords is literally the frame of mind of those that are going to be able to partake of this new frequency, or that are going to feel compelled to continue to invest and even insist on having it the way that they're most comfortable, or the way that they're used to, resisting the change within themselves or in their surroundings. But it's going to be a stark difference of life experience, though, between those that choose one path or the other. Which is amazing to me that there would even be, you know, a choice for most. Like if there would be a question about it, especially if there is a display of the disparity between the two paths, which there will be. I sense that. But somehow still, people will choose their comforts over their creativity. I should say their complacency over their creativity. Because for some, it'll just seem too hard to start over, to think differently, to stand up to a new challenge. And the thing is, it's weird, because what I'm sensing is that the landscape will change in such a way where you won't really have a choice. Like you will, but you won't, because circumstances will have shifted in such a drastic way where the old customs don't really transfer or translate the way that they used to. Like I said, like we've been able to recycle the same conditioning over and over again. It's like something that is set to change will make it much harder, if not virtually impossible, to do that. Certainly not with ease. It's not like how before, where you could just you go along to get along, even if you hate it. But hey, like if this is what I gotta do, so saith, you know, society or the world or whatever, you know, whatever you're submitting to, then so be it. It's like there won't be, and it's like you'll do it and you'll almost condition yourself that you like it. You know what I mean? There won't be that liberty there or that grace there. It's like you may do it, but you're gonna hate it. Like there will never be a moment really and truly for that you're not reminded of the discomfort in your complacency, or the sacrifice that you have submitted to or made willingly in order to feel secure, you know, or in order to hold on and maintain this frequency of what ultimately is like a false sense of security. You won't be able to condition and almost, you know, like delude yourself into thinking like this is okay, this is a way of life, like how it was when some people went back to work, like, oh, I love being, after C-19, like, I love being back to work. It was better than being home. And like, that was kind of like, even if they really didn't, you know, it's like under the conditions, maybe so, you rather have this than that. But generally speaking, you know, the truth of the matter is, are you really loving being back at work, you know? So it's something about that here was where it's like, it really is kind of like an all or nothing type of life now, where it's like almost bottlenecking people into, like funneling them into their destiny, if it's allowed to do so. Because like I said, you can still choose to resist. You just may not ever be able to get comfortable in that resistance when the universe is flowing this away and that away, and you're trying to go that way, literally, with the Knight of Swords here. You might catch a cramp, you know? So the way of it that seems like daunting to be reconditioned or relearn or unlearn or rethink, reestablish, regenerate, whatever the is, that may seem unfavorable on sight, actually is the thing that has the greatest promise. So to curb your the level of difficulty that you would self-inflict in such a pivotal time of change, it would probably be in your best interest, or in anyone's best interest, to just submit to the evolution of the times. Yeah, moving forward, the Chariot here. Wow, or else. Like, or to stay disempowered, to stay stuck, to stay in one place, to stay where you can account for your encounters. People, places, and things, even though it's threatening, even though it hurts, it's not scenic, it's not satisfying. It's all the things that almost make you feel like you've imprisoned yourself in a spiritual, mental, or even physical way, to choose that over the advancement, the success of advancement here, even in the face of resistance or great challenge, as the Chariot depicts. I mean, look at the difference. Which would you rather have? Because this is like kind of ignorance in a sense, but it doesn't look blissful to me. So it's something about that that ideal of ignorance and bliss, or being, you know, or having deferred your power to some other source or force that, you know, obviously is not championing for you, that is becoming obsolete in the ways that we've been able to like cope with it before. To even like be in some ways like numb to it. That's not going to exist. It's like the reality will be something that you can't refute, you can't deny, and you can't ignore. And you'll still have all the open invitation to do something about it, but with none of the old spoils and, you know, amenities that you had before to live within it peacefully, harmoniously, to a degree, of course. So ultimately will really compel you to want to figure out the best way to your destiny, to your ultimate heart's desires, even if it takes you the rest of your lifetime to achieve it. And the thing is, though, back to the beginning, is that once the decision for that investment is made, although, remember I said it's like somebody's looking over and you may think, well, it'll take me the rest of my lifetime, or my time is even past, or now I'm this age, and who am I to start now pursuing my dreams, or, you know, going after what is purposeful or satisfying in my life, or what I've always wanted to do. But here's the thing that the universe can get behind. The thing that feels like the attack is the confrontation of that knock on the heart. No matter how you try to numb yourself otherwise or distract yourself otherwise from it, that's what feels most confrontational, almost like a point of attack, when your whole life is ultimately trying to push you in that direction and you're like, no, I don't want to go, I'm too old, I got too many kids, I don't have enough money, you know, nobody's going to care about it, nobody's going to understand it, whatever it is. But when you get in that flow and you make almost immediately make the decision, like, this Seven of Pentacles is my lot and I appreciate it, and I'll focus in and lock in on all that is required of me to make sure that I cultivate this harvest to its ripest state. Me even being that harvest, you being that harvest. That's when you get the surprise of your life, and now everything in your existence begins to push you almost effortlessly and easily, to some degree, of course, toward that realization. Certainly more easily than you pushing against the Eight of Wands, you feel me? But there may be some obstacles, some challenges, some relearning, some unlearning, but nothing more satisfying than knowing that you're at least headed in the direction and on the path of destiny, as opposed to in the opposite direction, you know, clearly, you know, and clearly away from it. So consider that as I started this whole, I guess it all tied in eventually. I hope it all connected somewhere in there. But then no matter if you start today, tomorrow, next week, the moment that that decision is made and the investment is intentional, is the moment that the divine, the universe, the source of all can align with your creativity to co-create in a way that will not only be gratifying for you in all the ways that you were pursuing it otherwise, it'll be satisfying for the soul of you, the spirit of you that's been calling out for that anyway. And that level of satisfaction and sensualization is like force fuel unto all of creation, which at that point is what pleases the creator and the divine anyway, which creates the cycle of support and resource from the most divine source that will continue to fuel and fund your ambitions to its fullest fruition because of the sheer because of the great value of exchange that it forges between yourself and the divine. Again, being the conduit and also being the conductor of energy that has to come through creation in a human sense to make the impact that the divine most greatly ordains. I hope that makes sense. You knowing that you're just as much of a valuable commodity and partner in creativity as you are creation. I guess it's just as much of a valuable creator in that co-creativity as you are a creation. All right, I'm gonna leave it there. It's been a slow burn this week, you know, it really has. Just as slow as the week was going. It's just interesting how these messages are coming out, but I just think it's opening up to something higher and more expansive to affirm of ourselves, to prepare for the great honor and responsibility that we are assuming if we so choose to, you know. Here it is right here with the Chariot card. It's a great honor, but it certainly does come with high stakes and great responsibility. But anybody that I'm talking to, especially in the frequency of the strength in the star, is well equipped and certainly specifically chosen to be on that post. So I suppose I'm just offering a little encouragement and affirmation, perhaps for all that you've already, you know, encountered in the way of drastic change, just to be at this point that you've done yourself a great service to do so. And perhaps where you can't see the rewards completely materialized just yet, I suspect it's on the way sooner than you think. And then before you know it, that would just be the seed to advance you now to your next assignment. So you may not even be able to stay and contemplate that long before it's time to carry onward and upward to that point. All right, so thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.